I think the best artists we have, or the ones with the most potential, underground or mainstream, are trying to be themselves in a world full of sheep. And I think Nicki Minaj could be a fabulous mentor to help them. And I think one thing is the new kids these days, with so much social media, they're very self-conscious in a big way. And I think they're more self-conscious now than perhaps the OGs were, because they didn't have the same level of like constant and intense invasive scrutiny. So I think Nicki's ability to not take herself that seriously could be helpful here. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Blessing. Make sure that you follow no_ghostwriter on Twitter and Instagram for 24/7 rap and hip hop talk. And make sure that you click that subscribe button, like this video, and comment if you like what I'm talking about today. And today I'm talking all about rap mentorship, and specifically why Nicki Minaj should be a mentor to rappers in 2021. And if you're interested in that, then keep watching this video. Also, make sure that you're signed up to the No Ghostwriter Patreon community for exclusive content, including behind the scenes get ready with me's, me reading your comments, exclusive reactions with full music, and more. There are 3 different tiers: the rap stands, the rap connoisseurs, and the elite hip hop heads. And you also get to see my exclusive Patreon show, Talking Hip Hop Heads, every 2 weeks if you're signed up to the rap connoisseur tier and above. So make sure that you check it out. I don't want you to miss it. And there's an exclusive Discord board. There's just all sorts of things on that community. So check it out, okay? So in this video today, I'm talking all about hip hop mentorship, and specifically whether in her second decade of her career, Nicki Minaj should be acting as a mentor. I know Nicki Minaj has mentored and definitely looked out for different artists, including Miss Banks. And she also is kind and has friends of hers who are dipping into music, and she's helped them, like Black China. So above all, Nicki is a great person to help people. And I think it could be interesting to see in her second decade of her career, her lean into this sort of mentor, executive producer kind of role. And another reason I thought this was an interesting conversation is, of course, Nicki Minaj has her own record label, and I do believe it's called Pink Friday Records. But I think it's really important to start thinking about what kind of people would be signed under a Nicki Minaj imprint, and also what would a Nicki Minaj label imprint have to offer the music industry. And I'm really excited to get into that in this video. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about what mentoring is. So generally speaking, mentoring relationships is where somebody with a bit more skills, knowledge, and experience helps someone else with less skills, knowledge, and experience enter and navigate a particular industry. And in this context, of course, it's rap and hip hop. And there has been a solid legacy of having mentors in hip hop. And there are sort of 3 broad things that a hip hop mentor or rap mentor will help a rapper with. There's the actual sonic mentoring. So what does their music sound like? There's the actual sound that they create. So what does their music actually sound like sonically? And how can the artist push themselves, experiment, and develop their sound to create something really unique? Then there's business, branding, and aesthetic. So what do you actually look like as an artist? How do you present yourself and your business? What does your paperwork look like? What are your contractual relationships with your record label, managers, lawyers, and all the other people involved in your career? And how do you want to navigate all of that? And then thirdly, there's networking. So that's actually putting you in contact with people in the industry who can help you out, who can champion you, get you on the right songs, get you in the right spaces. And that's a very important element of the mentor relationship. Now, mentors are big in hip hop for lots of reasons. The main one being that you need to be woke to navigate the music industry without getting shafted and getting taken advantage of. It's a very competitive commercial industry, and you need to know what you're doing so that people don't take advantage of you. And that's a really important thing, and that's why hip hop mentors have been important. I mean, someone like Q-Tip from Tribe Called Quest is a great example of this. Q-Tip talks about their experiences after they released Low End Theory, finding out that they made barely any money between them as a group. He's still talking about how he was still sleeping on his mom's couch when that album came out. And that someone like Q-Tip is a great mentor in terms of how to move and navigate your business. 50 Cent is another great example. In relation to Nipsey Hussle, when Nipsey came into the game, 50 Cent gave him some really good advice and insight into how he should leverage himself in negotiations with labels. And also with Lil Wayne and Nicki. Nicki watched Lil Wayne's examples to know what was possible. And if you watch my video on why Nicki didn't sign the Female Rapper 360 deal, you'll really see the importance of a good mentor in helping you understand the kind of a strategy you're going to have to navigate the music industry. And the second reason that mentorship is really big in hip hop is that hip hop is generally a collegiate culture. It's a collaborative culture. It's not just about you, even though rap is quite self-centered and braggadocious. It's not just about you. You need to also be able to work with other people in your field, whether that's producers, DJs, other rappers. You need to have that flexibility as an artist, and mentoring plays a really big role in that, because that's what allows, you know, people to make introductions, someone to get to know someone else, and it's how you can get yourself in with the right people is by having a good mentor. Now, one really obvious thing about mentoring, and in any industry, but especially hip hop, is you may have a mentor that's good for one thing, but isn't necessarily good for everything. And even with Nicki Minaj's relationship with Lil Wayne, Drake's relationship with Lil Wayne, you can see where Wayne's influence and example is good for some things. And you can also see where, you know, both artists had to sort of go on their own and figure it out on their own. Because let's say Wayne may not have fully understood how to brand Nicki, and whether it was Fendi or Wayne, you know, I'm not sure what it was like when she was with Deb, which who was also one of her managers. But I know that definitely with Fendi, there was this, you know, how is Nicki Minaj going to brand herself? And if you'd like me to talk about Nicki's management and the history of different people who've managed Nicki, let me know. I'm really interested in that and always happy to talk about it. So essentially, in a nutshell, a good mentor should be all of those things. But for some artists, because it's hard to find all of those things, they kind of have to find them in different people. And above all, I think that good mentors can be fully rounded. Now, something that is really clear is that there are less OGs. So if you think about old school, you know, rap heads that are mentoring new artists, there isn't a lot of those, you know, relationships between big established artists and new ones. One of the reasons I think that is because currently the new artists are so hot when they're hot that, you know, an OG might be grateful that one of the new kids has let them on their song. So it might not be, but there is still a huge respect element. You know, one thing I liked about seeing Nicki's collaborations with Megan Thee Stallion, with Doja Cat, and also the work that she did with Miss Banks, bringing her on tour, is that she imparted knowledge to all of them, and specifically rap skill. You know, for Megan, she gave Megan tips on song composition and where she should order her verses. So she actually told Megan to swap her verses around on Hot Girl Summer. Otherwise, Megan would have done that song with the verses in the other order. So it's just small things like that. You know, Nicki's reached out to Miss Banks and given Miss Banks some sonic feedback. So she's definitely doing that. But there aren't that many people who are. And I just wanted to quickly talk about why that is. So there is that point that I mentioned. The new artists are so hot. And I think what that feeds into is a wider thing now where things have changed in the game so much that it's really rare if you find an OG who can navigate, you know, the past, so the legacy of hip hop, where hip hop's come from, and the present, so where hip hop is, and the future, where hip hop's going. And if you look at people like Eminem, you know, Eminem is an OG that's still active, and he has been criticized by some people that his newer sound like he's trying to keep up with the kids. And that's not what you want as a rapper. You know, in my last video on the channel, where I talked about the challenges to female rappers making deep and complex lyrical content, Nicki talked about the pressures she feels of how much me do I bring and how much do I respond to the environment of what people want right now. And I think the fact that she's even thinking about that shows that, you know, OGs constantly have to balance this. And I would say I'd contrast Eminem, who's had that critique, with someone like Drake. Drake can balance classic and the new school really well. And something that Drake understands is streaming and attention retention. So he knows how to keep people's attention in this new world. So now onto what Nicki Minaj has to offer new artists as a mentor. So the biggest thing I think with Nicki Minaj that she can offer a new artist in 2021 is the ability to create classics in an era where other artists can't quite do that. And the reason Nicki's able to do that is because she makes evergreen content. So evergreen content is content that never gets boring, never gets old, will never not be relevant. And that's the kind of content that she makes. And because she makes that kind of content, it means that she doesn't follow trends, doesn't need to follow trends, and she can have content trending on new platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever, that is 10 years old. And she is able to do that. The reason I think Nicki can do that is because of her experimentalism. A lot of Nicki's old stuff is people's new stuff. And that's because Nicki never was afraid to experiment, try different things. She wasn't always chasing a classic sound. Whereas a lot of other artists do chase a classic sound, and you can hear it. They're always trying to make a classic. Whereas with Nicki, she just does what she wants and then it's a classic. And that's a really interesting skill. And so, yeah, she doesn't take herself too seriously. She doesn't worry so much about what a rapper's supposed to do. And I think one thing is the new kids these days, with so much social media, they're very self-conscious in a big way. And I think they're more self-conscious now than perhaps the OGs were, because they didn't have the same level of like constant and intense invasive scrutiny. So I think Nicki's ability to not take herself that seriously could be helpful here. I will talk about some possible challenges that Nicki could have in a mentoring relationship with a new artist. And that is that in her music, Nicki has not really split the pop and the rap from her albums, and you can see how it's worked and it hasn't. I would say on the Pink Print and Pink Friday, it was perfect. On Queen was a rap album from all the way through. There were some ballads, but it was a rap album. But Roman Reloaded, Pink Friday, Roman Reloaded was a different kind of album. Roman Reloaded was such a harsh juncture once you hit track 10 or track 11 and went into the Starships angle. And not to say it was bad, because it was separately a really, really good rap album and a really, really good pop album. But together, it meant that it alienated some people. And that alienation of audience came from the fact that she just didn't divide those tapes. Things she could have done is perhaps released the rap side maybe as a mixtape or as separate albums, and maybe have 8 albums now instead of 4 or maybe 6. But I understand, there's lots of reasons why you don't do that. First of all, you've got a contractual situation with a label. If you release so many albums, you'll be out your contract really fast, and a lot of people don't want to do that because of the fact of how much money it costs to make and distribute music all on your own. So when Nicki does any song that isn't a album related song, she's paying for that. So with a feature, that's fine because it's the other artist's budget, they're paying for you. But when it's your music and you're doing mixtapes and throwaway songs and stuff, it's just a lot of expense. She talked about with Yikes, she paid for Yikes out of her own pocket. That's so much. Samples, distribution, promotion. You've got a record deal. You don't need to do all of that. So I can understand why Nicki didn't split her albums and do that whole thing. Overall though, even though that is a challenge, she got away with it, and that's because the music is so good. It's that classics point I made earlier. The music is so good that it almost doesn't matter that she didn't split it up, because the pop fans take what they want, the rap fans take what they want, and the fans of both take everything. But the problem is, anyone that Nicki Minaj is to mentor in 2021 can't afford that because they're not Nicki Minaj. So they can't afford to not be so intentional with dividing their sound. So whilst I think Nicki will very much help them with experimentalism, the challenge will be refining that down and knowing, okay, what are we going to give them? And when are we going to give it to them? And I think as a mentor, that will be, a good, growth moment or learning moment for Nicki, maybe some good discipline, because she is Nicki Minaj and she can do whatever she wants and get away with it. Working with an artist who is really, really exceptional, really, really good, but isn't her and doesn't have, the superpowers that she's got, I think will be a good learning moment and a good mentoring moment. And there are a lot, there are great reasons that you would want Nicki Minaj as a mentor in 2021. All Nicki's throwaway tracks, think like yikes, you know what I mean? That could be someone's career defining hit. Do you know what I mean? And I think because of that, she has a lot to offer new artists. Networking wise, Nicki's kept a very professional business relationship with her and the producers, DJs, and everyone she's worked with. As she famously said, I never had to a DJ to play my songs. So she knows how to keep it professional, and I think she could help her artists avoid getting into awkward and embarrassing situations with like dusty people trying to take advantage of them. Nicki is an alpha female in an industry full of men, holding her own. She can really help her artists navigate all of that pressure, especially as women in the industry. There is huge sexual pressure, sexual harassment is rampant, and I think having Nicki Minaj in your corner would really, empower an artist, especially a female one. And the last and most important thing, I've mentioned this before, but contractual advice. Nicki Minaj as your mentor is going to help you avoid a bad 360. And I gave that example earlier from my video on why Nicki Minaj didn't sign the female rapper 360 deal, but check that out. So that's just a huge deal. If you've got that mentor insight, you're not going to end up getting yourself into a bad deal that you regret later. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I really just wanted to go over the reasons why Nicki Minaj could be a good mentor to artists in 2021 and why I think that she should. I do feel hip hop is having an overall identity crisis at the moment, and some guidance and leadership from Nicki Minaj could be really key for artists, especially because how well Nicki does experimentalization. And I think that element of not taking yourself so seriously, not worrying so much what people think of you, is something that a lot of artists need, especially the best ones. I think the best artists we have, or the ones with the most potential, underground or mainstream, are trying to be themselves in a world full of sheep. And I think Nicki Minaj could be a fabulous mentor to help them. So I hope you enjoyed. Comment below, what do you think about Nicki Minaj being a mentor and mentorship more generally? If you want to see a video on rappers that Nicki Minaj should mentor, both underground and mainstream, check out my IGTV. It's on my Instagram at @blessingmukosha. I'm reading your comments as well of the people who you think Nicki Minaj should mentor. And make sure you check. You're going to see some really good music plugs in there and some underground rappers that you haven't heard of, but you should. Comment your thoughts below. What do you think about Nicki Minaj being a mentor? Do you think now is the right time? And what do you think Nicki Minaj could offer any mentee that she has? Thanks so much for watching this video. Peace out, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.